Hello everyone, this is the first Q&A that I'm gonna do for the Patreon channel. So it's the first time I do this, and it's quite exciting because I got a lot of questions, and I'm gonna go through each question and I'm gonna do my best to answer all of them. Please take note that some of the questions that are being asked are pretty deep, and I'm gonna try to provide some information with demonstration of what you can do, but in some case what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna make a longer video either this week or soon to cover in and out everything that has been discussed for a specific topic, and quite exciting to start. And the first one that I will do is from Glico, and this question is, hello, would love to you some tip. So I presume he's asking for tips on how do you find hooks and melodies. So well, that's a tough one. It's a tough one because first of all, if I had the answer to that question, I would probably be making music and be successful producer making bombs and pop music. And finding hooks and melodies is I call that gold digging. Some people dig for records and DJs, and producers, we dig for ideas, we dig for sounds, we dig for something that we can articulate, which leads me to a few points that I want to share. First, hooks and melodies is the heart of any song. Every song that you think out of a melody or a hook or something, and if they don't have melody, then the hook can be a no hook song, which is a bit complicated. So first point is that the language of music is called music theory, as you probably know, and this is something that people study their entire life. Once you know that language, then you have articulation and vocabulary that lets you be more fluent in expressing yourself. In electronic music, we are gifted having tools that allows us to make music without the knowledge of music theory. So when people that don't have music theory or very little music theory want to do something that involves music theory, there's a gap there. And that gap can be difficult to overcome because you always feel like you could say more. It's basically like you would need to learn a language that is different than anything that you've been learning, perhaps Japanese or Chinese or Mongolian, and you feel like you don't have the vocabulary to express yourself. You will always find yourself limited. But in music, since the language is different, and as musicians we strive to make something where we express ideas, it comes down to finding something that has a sentence, a phrase, a motif, something that your brain feels that they can listen in a loop. And then after that, the second point, which is once you find an idea, you separate it in two. By separating your idea in two, it allows you to articulate and create a call and answer, and of course go deeper into how you're going to build an entire song around one simple idea. Some artists use this very simple idea and the entire track is just a repetition of that, and what changes is everything around it, which is also another option that you can do. So that said, do you need to learn music theory to be able to express yourself? No, but it helps. So where do we find ideas and hooks? And so if I have to answer for myself, there's two things. The first one is about using references. References are goldmine, because if you listen to the reference and then you listen to what the hook is, then you can say, what is the melodic content over 1 bar, over 2 bars, over 4 bars? Is it a simple note? Is it 2 notes? Is it 3 notes? Is it a note and a vocal? There's some information that you can pull out from the reference, and after that, recreate something. So the third point is there's no magic recipe for making hooks. What we do as electronic musician comes down to the principle that, and this is how I see myself. I don't see myself as a true musician, as someone that has music theory who is able to express himself, but more about I'm a curator. I find ideas and then I decide what I want to keep. So if I find ideas in other people's music, then point 4 is create a lot of ideas by improvising, by using random generative ideas. And then from there, you go through that and you dig inside your own music to find ideas that you want to build into a song. I saw an article about Portishead, which is a band from the 90s that I had a big impact on me. And I've learned that they were sampling themselves. From what I understand, they were recording records, I think, or tapes or whatever with their own music. And after that, they would use that for sampling, which is like before Ableton. Now we can do that with Ableton, is that we record ourselves in Ableton, and after that we can play with those sources. So I'm going to show you a few different things of ways that you can improvise, but keep in mind that there's no magic. And if you want to become better at expressing yourself with hooks and ideas, it starts with references, and it starts with taking the time in understanding what you like and how it's built. That's the only way that you're going to come out with ideas that eventually you will like. But there is no magic and there's no one solution fits all. So let's check a few ideas here. So we talked about language and sound and ideas and hooks. How it can come from track analysis. So if you are not familiar with music theory, then you have to rely on understanding the hooks that you love into songs that you love. And at first, it will seem like you're copying. A lot of people are resisting that approach because they're basically going to copy, like note per note, like how music is made into tracks that they have as references. And that feels like, oh no, this is not good. But see it this way. If you're learning a new language and you're using, for instance, Duolingo, you are using the same road as all the other people that are using Duolingo for learning Japanese or Chinese or Mongolian. And at first, the language that is proposed is extremely basic. You get to learn how to pronounce certain sounds, how to do certain things, and how to express a certain contextual phrase into what you're doing. So when you're working with learning a new language, you're basically going to learn all the very, very basic things so that eventually you can learn enough vocabulary to be able to compose your own sentences. Music is about the same thing. It's about understanding all the elements that compose all the songs that have influence where you are right now as a musician, and eventually be able to know from the things that you've copied how to express the little things that you want to do. And the limitation that we feel when we make music is frustrating. Yes, I get it. I do feel that way sometimes. But whenever I get lost, references are actually really helping. Because whenever I doubt, like, oh, is this enough with these melodies? Is this enough with these notes? Is my phrase long enough? Does it mean something? Well, your ears are not enough. And when you make your own music, you will always doubt. That's how things are. So, what you have to do is you have to use a reference to see how that was done in that reference. And then by comparing yourself, you'll be able to know if you're on track or not. So for instance, if you feel like you don't have enough melodies into your song, you can take one of the songs here, and then you will realize that maybe you have too many melodies. So I have 3 tracks here that I use as references. There's one that is a bit more experimental. There's one that has like very clear melodic elements. And there's one here that is a bit of both, but it's also mostly harmonic. And in some case, what you can do with a track that you like as a reference, we've seen in a previous video that I posted on the Patreon how to make a reference track template. And to me, while I resisted doing references template, it was one of the most helpful thing that I could do. I did the one with Ian Ludwig, and in a video that I was working on in the last days, I want to show you what I do once I have a reference and what I can express myself with that template once I have it in hand. One thing that you can do is you can take a part of a song that you like, and then after that extract here the different stems. In this case, I extracted the vocal, the drums, the bass, and the others. So for instance, the track itself here, so if I play this, right? So if I come here and then I come in here and I go with the stems, whoop, it would be better if there would be no effect on these. I apologize for that. So if I take the stems that were exported from this, and of course, if you don't know how to do this, this is in 12.3 or 4, like I'm lost. The latest version. You have now this separate stems to new audio track. So that is the way of extracting. And it's limited, but it gives you some ideas. So for instance, this is the vocal, and let's listen. So the vocals are extracted now. The quality is not great, but that doesn't matter because after that I can come on Splice and I can look for vocals and I could substitute this. And then same thing with the drums. You'll see that it's a very simple drum pattern. And I could do the same thing. I could get a loop from Splice or make my own if I want and have something like that. And what about the bass? What does it sound like? You know, like if you don't know like how this is in terms of organization of notes, what you can do is you can convert this to melody, and then you will get a bass like this. I'm not sure where there's a note here. Sometimes it's a bit weird, but so you get a bass, and I'm not sure it's going to sound great. So this one here has no sense to being there. But these are just like little points that you can start with. And then after that, you can put this on the scale and just change the sound. So whenever you make melodies, and this is the part that is the toughest for anyone, it's about understanding that melodies are composed of a few different spheres. One of the first is what are the notes? What are the notes that we're trying to express? And after that is what is the sound? If you were making folk music, you would always get that guitar and then you would compose the notes. So you would take the guitar and you make the notes. So with that approach, how I approach this is usually I'll find a sound that I like, a preset, usually a preset, yes. And from there, I'm like, okay, so this is the sound. What is the sound inspiring me as a melody? And then you can go down the rabbit hole of trying to find what's the best melody for that sound. And some people are like, oh, the sound sucks, but sometimes it's the melody that is just not appropriate for the sound. So you can chase your tail like that about like, okay, now I'm going to change the melody to fit this new sound. No, the sound doesn't work. I changed the sound, but then the melody doesn't work anymore. and then you change the melody, and then whoop, the sound doesn't work anymore, and then you can chase your tail like that, and it can be extremely confusing. So, once you have your phrase, like I said, you separate it into a call and answer. So in this case, call and answer could be as simple as this is the call and this is the answer. But usually, um, one mistake that a lot of people do when they make melodies is they make really long phrases without any rests. And rests in human communication, this is a rest, it's a pause, it's a comma. It allows me to breathe, and for the listener, they get anticipating what I'm going to say next. And in music, if you just feed like ideas to the listener, that they get overwhelmed. And this is why this melody here, right? So you can see that this melody is a great example. This is the call, this is the answer, and there's a rest in the middle. The rest has there's reverb and delay, but basically you get that separated. And then once you have your phrase separated in two, then it comes as easy to create conversation between your different elements. So in this case, the bass, as we see, is existing when there's the rest. And that's why you do rests between different notes, is to allow other instruments to take over. And you see the voices here is also during the rest, the same time at the bass. And then the bass is playing mostly here when this is done. So if I solo again, this is terrible. So there's really good conversation between the different elements, and of course, music is all about taste, right? And if you're on my Patreon, it's probably because you like my music. I think you do, maybe, hopefully. And I'm trying to teach how I approach it, and there's no miracle magic wand that will come in, like this little thing that will all of a sudden everything will come as illumination. But melodies that work are usually simple. So another approach that I was taught when I work with jazz musicians is that when you start the melody, start with one note. And that note is the foundation of your melody. So you start with a note that you place over a drum, and then you build from there. What's the next note? What's the third note? And most of the hooks that I've analyzed that I love don't have that many notes in their melodies. Some do, but when there's a lot, usually the artist has a music theory basis that I don't have. And when I try to imitate artists that have more theory than I do, I feel like I sound clumsy. So I'll try to express myself within what I know I can do. So to do this, how can I say? I hear sometimes people trying to make melodies, and it clearly shows that they don't have theory, and it sounds difficult to understand. And it's like if I don't speak Japanese again, and then I go and talk to a Japanese person, I can't sell myself as a Japanese person because I don't speak like them. So it's good to remain within what I can say. Otherwise, they don't understand. Another approach for making melodies and hooks is the approach that I've been having for a very long time, which is either to work with pre-made loops, and then from here you can extract the melody by doing the convert to melody to new track, and that will kind of indicate you like the melodic content in here. Sometimes it's not the best because it happens that it might, like this is complicated material, but I love it. So what I can do is, and this is something that I do a lot, which is I take the hip hop approach about taking something like this, chopping it, and then see what happens. So there's, I can isolate a part that I like, such as here, and then work with that. I can pitch it up, pitch it down, impose a new envelope, and this will lead to something that might be completely different. Another way that you can do, and this is the hip hop approach, is like, see, this is like the notes are falling at different points. So this is easier to do this. And what I can do is I can slice this to a new MIDI. And in this case, I'm gonna, slice to MIDI. And I'm gonna create maybe 1/8, 1/4. Let's go with 1/4. And then when I come here like this, then I have the melody that is being chopped. It's not ideal, but right? But then I can come here and I can reinterpret this into new ideas. And something that I like for new ideas is recombine. In the this comes with Ableton. It's a transformation tool, and I can just rotate things around like this. And I can come here, or mirror, and we have like a different melody all of a sudden. And then I can just and I have a new completely different melody. Well, completely new, kinda. But it doesn't sound like. It allows me to reinterpret, remix, get sort of a ice-breaking exercise for starting a new song. I love this approach. I find that coming up with new ideas, new melodies is something that can only happen if you play with sound. Melodies don't just, I mean, at least to me, it doesn't just fall from the sky. I don't like wake up with a melody, or sometimes I do, and then I come to the studio and I try it and it usually sucks. So I take like notes, and let's say I love all these notes. I love these notes, but I'm just gonna change the order, and then I can also mute maybe some parts, right? Or I can come here and then I can chop it. So I have like little notes like this, make arps, right? Right, something like this is also can be pretty interesting, and there's different like MIDI effects that exist here that you can play with. There's the arpeggiator, bouncy notes, harmonic steps, and these will take the incoming notes, shuffle them around. I mean, there's just so much you can do here with that. That with all the materials already existing, it's impossible not to come up with new melodies that will just maybe more personal than the original idea. The other one is working with random signals. So this is something that I love doing. As you saw in the previous video, I'm using Sting for ideas of generating just generating like something completely random. And MFA Manifest Audio are providing a lot of different tools that I love to use. There's chants that I like, and there's one called Subtraction Engine that I come here, and then I can remove notes that I don't want to play. So let's say this to me is like a way of adding rests into what I do, and then I can also randomize. And of course, when I like something, I can just export the clip, and it's just going to create the clip here for me that I can, after that, play with. And then I can also have commercial tools such as Riffer that I've been using quite a lot in the past. It's generating ideas, and for instance, this one is receiving notes from Riffer. And what's nice about the Subtraction Engine is that it also randomizes notes that are coming in. Sometimes it's playing, sometimes it's not, because of 50% chances. So both together are providing me some random ideas. And like I said, I don't see myself as a musician, but more of a curator of ideas. And it's about capturing ideas. And after that, I start from here and will be working with what I have. Also, I love to repitch material sometimes. Like someone was asking about dub. And so you can repitch something really, really low. And then you find there's some kind of like texture that comes from that. Maybe this one is not the best example, but I find that there's some weird textures that just emerges from repitching. This is a really good example, actually. See the difference? How we're getting these like really nice textures all of a sudden. That's like gold to me. And I have like tons of recordings, and you cannot guess what it was originally. So that's for dub, this is like, these textures are super, super awesome. Okay, so the next one is by Daniel H, who I worked on his track before. And his question is, I would like to know what specific makes the ambient track and percussion that brings this meditation healing vibe. Music for me should heal people, and what I want is to learn how to do that. Ricardo has it, and so and you have it too, thank you. Ada Calais and Barak, Ian Ludwig, Melchior, and Margaret Digas, all artists are shaman. And then he points out a few tracks of mine on Nerve Music and Multiple Path vinyl that I released years ago. Thank for the compliment. That's not an easy topic again, and I'm gonna try to explain a few things. I think I know what you mean by music heals and music can make you feel better. People that are neurodivergent, like me and probably you and a lot of other people, we find that making music and listening to music does regulation to the emotions and the emotional state that you're in. So it helps you do this transition of emotions from a place of struggling to a place of being content. And your brain is not something that I can explain you how it works, because it's not something that I've studied, but my psychology studies taught me one thing, which is whatever brings you peace, that's something that you should study. A bit like what I was saying to Glico. And I would suggest that you find tracks by Ricardo, Adakale, and other people that you really like. And then understand what are the elements that make you feel comfortable, and calm, and at peace. I'm going to share a personal story here. For part, I would say, of the first half of my career, music was always about techno, minimal techno, some ambient, but was mostly dance floor oriented. In 2016, 10 years ago, my dad passed away, and I fell into a state of mind that was close to depression and anxiety, and being kind of lost about what's the point of making people dance, and that kind of self conversation I have with myself. And during that time, I was trying to make music, but I just couldn't do anything that was dance floor oriented. It just felt inappropriate. So instead, what I was doing, and this is something that you could try, I was trying to find the least amount of sound that I can listen in a loop, and then I would modify them in a way that they could be timeless, that I could listen to that loop forever and never really feeling bored. So at that time, the artist that inspired me the most was William Basinski, and his music is about tape recordings that are played in a loop until the loop that is on tape completely disintegrate. And he has done like a multitude of projects like that. And at that time, I was listening to that music in the background at home, and it was really helping me feeling focused and kind of relaxed. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna apply this approach to my music. And the way William Basinski works is he finds these classical or other sources and he loops them. So I went into my library of sounds, and I would find samples, loop them, and then try to find just the ones that bring peace. And that simple exercise led me to record an album over almost 8 months, and that album is on my Bandcamp. It's called Intra. And Intra is basically just loops that are layered, and you will find the link here if you're interested. And I didn't really care too much about what was the point of doing that album. I just wanted to share to the world the music that brought me peace, and it was really well received. I received a lot of good feedback from people that are into that kind of experimental music, and that exercise over 8 months brought so much understanding of what my brain needs to feel calm that after that I learned techniques that were really useful after that for any production that I've done. And something that I would say is just load up music in Ableton, isolate a little part of it, and then after that play with effects and modulation. And that would be a great topic that I could do in a future video, because it's quite long, but it's something that I do whenever I feel down. I want to make music. The last thing that I suggest people is to try to make a song. Working on a song is a structured activity. It is something that is demanding, and it's something that is about that has a goal, right? A goal of finishing something. And when you make music that is about meditative and healing, as you say, the last thing you want is to try to see how that loop can be a song, because then you're making music for other people. You're not making music for yourself. You're concerned about how the people are going to understand it. So there's this part that is called expectation management, and that ruins the experience of having true listening experience with the music itself. So to sit with the music and just to play with it is an activity that you can do. And if your goal and intention in that moment is just to connect with the music and what it does to you, and that you're not focused on expectation management, then you will know exactly if that music is bringing peace to you. And then after that, you can go into a direction of maybe just recording yourself playing with it. And that's what I did with the album Intro, is I would press record and then just play with the loops for sometimes 20 minutes to an hour and see what would happen with that. So there's no straight up answer to that question. It's pretty vast, and I hope this answer can help a little bit.